play is absolutely necessary for us as adults who want to live extraordinary lives. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Create, Play, Live podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Nanette Saylor, your host, and here we are together again. And it is truly my pleasure, my honor, a great privilege to be sharing this time with you. And I know, it's one of those crazy realities about our technology. You're listening to me maybe the day that I release this episode, maybe someday many years in the future. Somehow you're hearing my voice and I don't know it immediately that you're listening, but trust me when I tell you, I know that you're listening. And I so appreciate you, and I so appreciate the energy of what it is that we share in this experience. Because at the end of the day, we're all here together, those of us who have this calling to create. We're all here together to create more, to expand, and to be in this place that connects us and takes us beyond where our consciousness knows. Yeah. So thank you for being here with me today and to being here with the collective, because you're not the only listener. You are not the only listener. Thankfully, we have thousands now of unique listeners, and I am so grateful that this message is taking on a life of its own, and it's going out into the universe. It's going out into this energetic field way beyond what I know to be possible in this human reality. So welcome. I am so glad you're here. I am so glad to share this time with you. And my message today is kind of a funny one. It makes me smile a little bit. Actually, truth be told, it makes me smile a lot, because over dinner this evening, my plan for what I was going to record, what I was going to say, how I was going to hopefully inspire you today was completely rearranged. And it was this evolution of dots connecting and conversation connecting, and at its core, what I love about this, what lights me up, what makes me smile more than anything else, is the idea that curiosity led me here. Curiosity led me to this conversation with you, which is simply about what's the difference between flatbread and pizza. So some of you are thinking, did she just say, what's the difference between flatbread and pizza? And some of you are thinking, okay, she's lost her mind. What does this have anything to do with creativity and curiosity and letting your heart lead and creating an extraordinary life? Flatbread and pizza? What's that all about? Yeah, so here's the deal. I want to invite you to give a little attention to this idea of flatbread versus pizza. Who knew 25 years ago there was a thing called flatbread? If you're a listener and you knew there was flatbread 25 years ago, please jump over to the Facebook group Conscious Creators Cafe and tell me all about it, because I don't think anybody on this planet identified with a thing called flatbread. Certainly in the United States of America, we did not identify with a thing called flatbread. We knew a whole bunch about pizza, but we knew nothing about flatbread. And I want you to just hang with me for a little bit here, because I know it feels like I am going off the rails. But the truth is this. Ask yourself, think about it. Let your curiosity explore this question. What's the difference between flatbread and pizza? And here's what I came to understand in this random conversation over dinner tonight as I explored the answer to the question. Because my partner, Bill, he said, what is this I'm eating? I said, it's flatbread. He said, well, it looks like pizza to me. He said, what's the difference? And I had to give it some attention. And what I came up with is such the perfect example of what this conversation about creativity is all about, that I just burst out laughing in the middle of eating dinner. And I knew immediately that this was something that I could talk about tonight. And like I said, lots of you are probably thinking she's lost her mind. By all means, please comment, send me a message, tell me what you think. I want to know. But just stick with me for a minute, and I promise I'm going to share how this connects. Because here's the thing. Somebody, somewhere, and I'm going to have to Google it to figure out who came up with this idea of flatbread. Because I don't know about you, but in every restaurant in America, or lots of the hip and cool new vibey places, particularly the vegetarian ones, or the organic ones, or the, all the ones with that new vibe, we've got a lot of flatbread going on. And there's not a lot different, frankly, between flatbread and pizza. And yet at the same token, there is. So let's think about it. Pizza is round, generally. Somewhere way back when, Pizza Hut decided there could be a rectangular deep dish thing. I think Little Caesars did it too. But I don't know about you, but that didn't really qualify as pizza. And I didn't really assimilate it in my awareness as being any different than the other typical traditional round version. Pizza as we know it is round. Pizza as we know it has an edge to it. It has, not only does it have a crust, and we could have arguments about which is the best, deep, thick, flat, thin. I'm a thin pizza gal, thin crust pizza gal, and that's probably why I have this affinity to flatbreads. But regardless, whether it's thick or thin, pizza traditionally has a rolled edge in this circular form. Interesting that there are limits as a result of this rolled edge on the circular form. The rolled edge is designed to hold the things in the container, which is this circular crust. Stop for a minute and think about how many things in your life have this rolled edge, have limits that are defined by what this thing is called. Pizza has a limit. The limit of pizza is that it's round, and it has a rolled edge. So everything in the pizza is contained within the construct of this circle that is round and has, or the shape that is round, obviously circles are round, shape that is round and has an edge, a rolled edge. Pizza, as we know it, traditional pizza, although there's been in recent history nuances of quote-unquote white pizza, doesn't have any tomato sauce. We have things like Hawaiian pizza, limited tomato sauce, but generally pizza has tomato sauce. It's a crust, it's a breading of some kind, flour-related dough that is put on a sheet pan, and then some topping, some sauce, tomato sauce, and a variety of toppings are put on top. That crust, that flour bread of sorts, has an edge. It's rolled over. It goes in the oven. It gets toasted, cooked. It comes out, and it gets sliced into pieces that are serving size. Now, because it's a pie, traditionally the slices are done in pie shapes. Because it's round, the slices are done in pie shapes. That's what we know traditional pizza to be. Flatbread, on the other hand, is a piece of dough, this flour dough, that is rolled out, spread out, traditionally long and rectangular. It has toppings on it, but here's the key. Because we have not defined it as pizza, because we took the limits off, we took away the boundary, we took away the edge, we took away the definition of what is. We said, what if we put a piece of dough, we rolled it out flat, we didn't make it round, we didn't give it an edge. What if we just rolled this piece of dough out? Why couldn't we put anything that comes to mind on top of it and then slide that in the oven and cook it the exact same way we cook pizza? And so tonight, the variation I had for dinner had ranch dressing and chicken and bacon on it. I don't know about you, but I haven't had a pizza ever that had ranch dressing and chicken and bacon on it. That would not qualify as pizza, quote unquote, by any standards that I can think of. And yet, it's a piece of dough. It has toppings. It gets put in the oven in the same way it gets baked. We pull it out, we slice it. Now, in this case, flatbread does not get sliced into pie-shaped slices because flatbread's not round. But it certainly gets sliced into serving sizes or bite-sized sizes, however small you want to make it. My point is that the concepts are so very similar, and yet somewhere along the line, somebody, and I'm going to have to see if I can look it up and figure out who, and you know what, my guess is a gazillion people have been doing it long before, but there's probably somebody on Wikipedia or Google who's been accredited with releasing quote-unquote flatbreads to the world for all to see. And my point is that the evolution of flatbreads came from somebody along the line being willing to say, what if pizza wasn't round? What if pizza didn't have a rolled edge? What if pizza was thin, which some pizza was before? What if pizza didn't have tomato sauce? And what if I put anything that's left over in the refrigerator on the top of a piece of dough and put it in the oven? What might come out of that? And now, as a result, we have an entire food service industry built around this new thing, at least in the United States, that we call flatbread. How cool is that? That, my friends, is innovation. That, my friends, is creativity at work. Why all this conversation about flatbread and pizza? Because this is an example of what it looks like in real time, real world, for someone to challenge the rules of the game. For someone to say, what else is possible? For someone to ask, what else is possible? What if we didn't make our pizza like everybody else's? Who says that I have to have tomato sauce on pizza? Who says my crust has to be round? Who says I have to have basil on it? Or oregano, or Parmesan cheese, or mozzarella cheese, or any of the other things that are traditionally part of what we know pizza to be that are nowhere near what's on a flatbread. Like I said, the one I had tonight had bacon and chicken and ranch dressing. Open up any menu in any hip, new American cuisine restaurant, and you'll find flatbreads, none of which have mozzarella and tomato sauce on them. Fascinating, isn't it? What happens when we allow ourselves to see the possibilities of things beyond what we know? That's what this conversation about creativity is all about. That's where I hope that you and I will go together. That's where our curiosity takes us. When we start to question what is and we start to wonder about what's possible. And we start to invite ourselves to play in that possibility. What's the worst that can happen if I go home with a piece of dough and I roll it out and I make it rectangular instead of round, and I decide to forego the tomato sauce and I put anything else that's in my refrigerator on it and I throw it in the oven? What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is it tastes terrible and I throw it away. So what? At least I got to see the possibility of maybe one or two of the herbs I added had a kind of an interesting flavor. Or maybe the cheese that I put on melted in a way that I really enjoyed. Or maybe the meat that I added, when it got heated up, it got a really smoky kind of flavor to it that was really super. And maybe at the end of the day, the whole experiment in totality had to go in the trash. But I bet you that there's at least one or two things that you will have learned from the experiment. And then when you go back to try again, you'll take that knowledge and you'll move it, infuse it into something new, and you'll come up with the next iteration of the possibility of this cool new thing. And my hope for you is that all along you'll do it with a huge smile on your face and knowing that it is absolutely not the end of the world if you throw it in the trash after this experiment. And that you'll be able to laugh and sing and tell the tale of how you tried and tried and tried to get this to be something new. And my greatest hope for you is that somewhere along the line that you will absolutely get to the place of that aha moment when you pull that thing out of the oven and you say, oh my goodness, look, this is what I've been going for. This is what I've been trying to achieve. This is the thing that I knew I could get to, but I just couldn't see it yet. Because you had to take the steps to experiment with the possibilities, to open the door to the place of your awareness, getting to see that this next thing might be. Because every step you take opens up another stone on the path, takes you to another door that takes you in a different direction. You can't possibly have seen those stones or those doors before you take the next step. We couldn't possibly have imagined that there was a thing that could be called a flatbread before somebody created a flatbread. But there was the possibility. And there was the vision and there was the dream that there's something beyond pizza. We just didn't know what to call it yet. So what's the point of all of this? The point of all of this is, please, I implore you, do not get hung up in the worry about you don't know what to call it yet. Don't get hung up in the worry about, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Don't get caught up in the worry about, but I can't see it clearly yet. That ultimate thing. All you need to worry about is, can you see the next step and are you willing to take it? Can you see the next step and are you willing to take it? That's how we create flatbread. You can see the next step and you're willing to take it. You know, as I was thinking about this earlier tonight, I said, you know, how can it be that this is what I'm intended to record today? This crazy message about flatbread and pizza. And I took a deep breath and I said to myself, self. I didn't really say that, self. But I took a deep breath and I checked in with myself and I remembered that my intention over the last couple of years has been not to create a confining existence for myself, but rather to let my curiosity lead and to follow my heart. And from that place, I sat at my table tonight, having dinner, candles lit, enjoying conversation, eating flatbread, and engaging in this dialogue about flatbread versus pizza and acknowledging that in my creative life, that is the fuel that ignites all the possibilities of expanded expression, whatever those become. That expanded expression and being in the practice of acknowledging and connecting and choosing that over coming into my space, sitting down with some notes, some canned speech that I'd practiced. Me choosing that expanded expression over that old stuffy way of being. Me choosing that expanded expression is how I'm choosing to be in my creative life in every moment. That's what this podcast is all about. And as I sat down to get started recording, I thought to myself, well, I don't know if that's enough. You just rambling on about pizza and flatbread. Is that enough? Is that what people want to hear? Is that what they're waiting to hear? That's what my inner critic, of course, was jumping in to tell me. That's what my ego was jumping in to tell me, that that's not enough. That's crazy. Who wants to hear about pizza and flatbread? You've lost your mind. Why waste people's time? So, of course, I had to stop and do a little Googling of things that might be relevant to my topic of nurturing creativity, expanding our creative expression, right? Who did I go to? Who came to mind? Of course, my favorite mentor, Elizabeth Gilbert, and her glorious book, Big Magic. And I had to Google Big Magic quotes to come up with a couple to close with, because I didn't feel, and in full disclosure here, I didn't feel like what I might have to say would be enough. And yet I know in my heart of hearts that if this message has come to me, if this story resonated with me, that it will resonate with some of you. And yet my inner critic still wants to jump in and say, yeah, right, wrong, no, don't believe it. All of those things. And I share that with you because it's part of the process. It's part of my creative process. It's part of your creative process. I know it is, because it's what I get challenged with every day. So I'll close today with a couple of quotes, just because. And just because that's where my curiosity led me. That's where my journey, my creative process took me, was to this place of uncovering and being reminded of. I've read the book cover to cover at least twice. And if you haven't, I'll put in the show notes links to Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Powerful read, a must read for anyone engaged in this conversation about why creativity matters. So I'm going to close with a couple of quotes. The first ones that pop up on the list in no particular order, because it's just fun to do it that way. And the first one is, do whatever brings you to life then. Follow your own fascinations, obsessions, and compulsions. Trust them. Create whatever causes a revolution in your heart. From Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic. Creative Living Beyond Fear. Next. Quote, the universe buries strange jewels deep within us all, and then stands back to see if we can find them. Another gem from Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic, Create Living Beyond Fear. The next one obviously makes me giggle. Be the weirdo who dares to enjoy. Yes, I'm that weirdo. And yes, I dare to enjoy, and I dare you to do the same. And I will leave you with this. And there are so many more. Again, Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear. If you've not read it, please, please, please go to Amazon, go to your used bookstore, go wherever it is you can find one, download it on, I think it's probably an Audible. Yeah, you want to read this one. So I will leave you with this from Elizabeth Gilbert, quote, "So this, I believe, is the central question upon which all creative living hinges. Do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you? Do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you?" Given the chance, would you record a podcast about flatbread versus pizza? Something to consider. With that, my friends, I will leave you to close another episode of the Create, Play, Live podcast. As we move through our journeys of creative expansion, I implore you to use your curiosity. Let it lead you. Don't question it. Follow it. Let it be your guide. Follow your heart to the next place, and the next, and the next, and the next. And may your journey be filled with massive joy. And with that, I will close. Until we meet again, I'm Nanette Saylor, Create, Play, Live podcast host. On my journey, inviting you to jump in with both feet and take off on yours. Let the questions lead. Bye for now.
You are listening to the Create, Play, Live show, where women come together to share how curiosity and creativity lead them to extraordinary lives. I'm your host, Nanette Saylor, and I'm honored to share the mic with some truly amazing women who have asked and answered the question, what if we stop adulting and live every day with the curiosity of a child at play? In these enlightening conversations, we'll invite you to let go of outdated standards, make your own rules, and give yourself permission to play more than ever before. You have the power to create your life. Spend some time with us, and you'll learn to see life through new eyes and challenge yourself to new possibilities. We may not solve the world's problems, but we will get you to think differently about your own. Come play with us. Listen and subscribe at createplaylive.com.